August 28, 1963. 250,000 Americans, black and white, young and old, descend on the nation's capital in a show of solidarity. It was called the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, but it would be remembered as a turning point in the fight for civil rights. Among the speakers, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who electrified the crowd with his stirring "I Have a Dream" speech.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream.
A few months earlier, racial tensions in the Deep South had erupted. News reports carried brutal images of fire hoses blasting.
The university's actions and inactions were a stark manifestation of institutional racism.
It's triumphant in a way, and at the same time extremely sobering.
Montreal's Concordia University has issued a formal apology to Black communities for the harm caused by institutional racism, and in particular for events that led to a landmark 1969 student protest, as the school released a final report by its task force on anti-Black racism that had been launched in the fall of 2020 following the murder of George Floyd. The goal was to develop ways to improve the lived experiences of Black faculty, staff, and students.
February the 11th, 1969 was a dark day. Many students, including myself, were beaten and tortured by the Montreal police.
A sea of people who've had enough. Incredibly, despite the numbers, it was mostly peaceful, except for a few small scuffles with police after almost everyone had gone home.
Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
Police mostly kept their distance, giving protesters the space to voice their message.
But not all cops are bad. 90% of cops are good. You know what I tell them, cops? How come 4 out of 4 cops were not good for George Floyd?
I'm here against police brutality against indigenous population, against black people, against minorities.
I know what it feels like to be discriminated by the police and harassed, because I've seen that most of my life up north, and it needs to stop.
That message, a stark contrast to the Premier's recent comments that systemic discrimination does not exist.
I love looking back into the history of Black activism, both in the US and in Canada as well. You see how that March on Washington in 1963, if it wasn't for the solidarity and unity of Black Americans, you don't know the Civil Rights Act could have never been passed in 1964. And if it wasn't for those students standing up to discrimination and face the evil eye of anti-Black racism, Concordia University couldn't go public and apologize, although it came years later. What I'm trying to say is that if we didn't stand up when George Floyd was taken from us in the eyes of the world, if Martin Luther King and more than 260,000 unified Black people didn't march on Washington in 1963, you and me couldn't be standing here with the right to vote as a Black person and the right to own a home. And so ironic that they were fighting for equal employment opportunity. And this is what Nicholas Thompson is doing here today in Canada. He is fighting to ensure that every Black Canadian in this country has the right to equal employment opportunity, to call out the farce of the Employment Equity Act, where they only hire a certain amount of visible minority to meet a quota that doesn't include, where Black Canadians aren't inclusive in that quota. You don't know. Change doesn't come overnight. Change doesn't come by sitting down and waiting for someone else to do it. Change, as Martin Luther King Jr. and those 260,000 Black Americans and the Black students at Concordia University showed us, that change is only possible when we exercise unity and support each other and solidarity. Until then, change can never come. And this is what I'm saying to my Black brothers and sisters across the border from the US. You done know. Please sign the petition. Let us get into the House of Parliament. Let us walk up Parliament Hill together, united as one people. You done know. You could find the petition on my Instagram. On Instagram, at Black People United for Change, Inc. You done know. It's our only way. The only way to march and win this victory here for Black people in Canada is being unified. You done know. And yeah, you know, when I look at the petition and I see only 74 Canadians have signed, it can be discouraging. But just as I just said to you, you done know. It's a climb. You done know. Sign the petition today. Let's do like what our brothers and sisters did on Washington Hill and fight and use our voices to make a change. Scene, happy Sunday. Sign the petition at it's actually at Black People United for Change, Inc. It's on my Instagram bio. You done know. Power to the people. See, unity is strength, and strength is the power.